What is going on, guys? Full YouTube video here. I'm going to break down every incentive that is up or kind of relative to Week 18 Sunday NFL games. So we're just going to crack into it. Just want to preface that the Falcons, Panthers, Bears, Jags, Giants, Eagles, Rams, and Raiders, none of those players have incentives, whether they're resting players, whether they're already got their incentives, whether they're not even just remotely close to anything. But I will say, as an honorable mention, Malik Neighbors on the Giants. He has 4 receptions behind Brock Bowers, who currently holds the rookie reception record. So I'm sure Malik may be trying to get some receptions to catch up to him. On the same preface, I think Brock Bowers is going to maintain receptions. I believe he's 7 away from tying the record of most tight end receptions in a year, regardless of rookie or not. So I'm sure he's going to be vying for more receptions as well. So I would definitely pay attention to those. I'm probably going to bet the over receptions on Brock Bowers just off that. Next, we're going to go into the actual incentives that each player has. Kyler Murray, he needs 50 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown for $500,000. I'm probably just going to take his anytime TD. Rushing yards are kind of, it kind of depends on the game of whether you can get that, but I think they get down to the 5, 3, 1 yard line. He's going to be the one running it in. Next, Zaven Collins on the Cardinals as well. He needs 1 sack, so over half sack. That's typically a pretty common line on most games. So Zaven Collins over half sack. Bills Von Miller needs 1 more sack for a $1.5 million. Pretty confident he's going to be trying to get that. Taron Johnson on the Bills as well needs 1 interception. Kind of hard to bet interceptions individually, so probably stay away from that. And Daquan Jones needs a half sack for $250,000. So Von Miller, Daquan Jones on sacks, and then Dawson Knox, he needs 8 catches and 89 yards for $200,000. Not known for being a big yardage guy, but he can do it. He has done it at times, so maybe taking over his receptions here rather than the 90 yards would probably be the better option. Next, we're going to head to the Cowboys. Carl Lawson needs 2 sacks for $125,000. Just not sure. 2 sacks in one game is pretty difficult. 2 sacks against the Washington Commanders is pretty difficult. So I'd probably stay in the clear of that one. But Linval Joseph just needs 1 sack for $100,000. Incentives from the Cowboys aren't very high, but you don't often get them. So Linval Joseph might be trying a little bit harder than Carl Lawson to get that 1 sack because Lawson needs 2. Joseph only needs 1. So over half sack on Joseph is where I'm going to be. Next, the Broncos. These guys they're not in a must win, but they're in a should win game. They're against the Chiefs. If they win, it clinches everything. They're all set. If they lose, they kind of leave it up to however Miami does against the Jets. So if they win here, they should. Cortland Sutton needs 82 yards for $500,000. So I'm taking Sutton yards over. And then Cody Barton needs 1 interception for $250,000. Same kind of instance. It's hard to pick an individual on an interception, so I'm just going to stay away from that one. On the Lions, Zadarius Smith is 2 sacks away from $250,000. Staying clear of that one as well. This is going to be a very offensive side of battle. Both O-lines on both sides are pretty good. So getting 2 sacks is going to be difficult. Getting 2 sacks by one player is going to be extremely difficult. Staying right away from that. If he does, good for him. Packers, Kristen Noxon needs 1 interception for $50,000. Not a huge incentive. Hard to do interceptions. Staying clear. Colts, Tyquan Lewis needs 1.5 sacks for $100,000. Again, getting 2 sacks in a game by one person. Not impossible, but it is a little difficult. Then the Chargers. Christian Fulton needs 1 interception. Staying away from that one. But J.K. Dobbins needs 58 rushing yards. So I'm going to take his over on rushing yards. Even if he gets 60, if it's 65, I'm sure he's going to keep rushing. The Chargers should beat the Raiders pretty handily. So I'm sure he gets a lot of attempts later in the game, just trying to stall clock. Then Bud Dupree needs 1 sack for $250,000. On a Raiders offense with Aiden O'Connell at the helm, I'm thinking he probably gets through. I'm going to take his over half a sack. Next, the Dolphins. This is a sack-heavy game. The Dolphins, Tyrell Dodson needs 1 sack for $300,000. Emmanuel Ogba needs 1.5 sacks for $500,000. And Calais Campbell needs 1 sack for $300,000. All against the Jets O-line, who, as we know, doesn't stop much. Aaron Rodgers has been sacked plenty of times this year. If I wanted to narrow it down, I'd probably go for the 2 that need just 1 sack. But For 500 grand and Emmanuel Ogbah, he's pretty decent. He's definitely gotten plenty of sacks. He knows how to get through. 3 rushers who are really vying for a sack, they could all hit it. I mean, they are going to be trying to fly through that line. So I think as far as bets that I'm going to lock in, I want to take the Ogbah. Maybe I just go over half a sack just to kind of play it a little bit safer, not take the juiced odds. So I think I go over half a sack on all 3 of them. 3 rushers who are going to be trying for a sack is pretty hard to stop. Patriots, Kalen Sanders is 1 sack for 250 grand. Again, over half a sack. He's playing the Bills, which they should be. The Bills are kind of locked in. Not a lot of movement. Playing for a little bit of incentives for some of them, but I think he should be able to kind of get through if he's really pushing for it. 1 sack. I'm taking his over half sack. Leonard Floyd from the 49ers needs 1.5 sack for 500,000. The 49ers, I forget who they're playing off the top of my head, but again, 2 sacks in one game by one person is pretty difficult, so I might just stay away. Leonard Floyd, definitely a guy who could definitely get it done, but just going to kind of steer clear for now. Heading over to the Jets, Tyler Conklin needs 1 reception for 250,000, and then Jason Kinlaw needs half a sack for 250,000. Same idea as far as the Dolphins to the Jets to the Dolphins. Jason Kinlaw, I'm taking his over half a sack. The Dolphins are playing with Tyler Huntley, who hasn't been playing much, hasn't been playing great when he has been playing, holds the ball a little bit. I'm expecting the Jets to be able to power through. Their defense still looks pretty good, so I'm expecting him to push through, get a sack. I'm sure the guys on the team are going to be trying for him as well, so maybe they take a little bit of pressure off. He's able to get through. Conklin, with 1 reception, it's very difficult. They could throw a ladder and never look at him again, and he gets his incentive, so I am going to stay away from that one. Just because it's the same thing. I had Gesicki yesterday. He needed 3 yards. He blew up and went for like 60-something, but he only needed 3. They throw a lateral to him. He gets 5 yards, and they could never look at him again. It doesn't matter. So I am going to stay away from Conklin's 1 reception here. Seahawks, Geno Smith. He is one of my picks of the day. I'm taking his over passing yards. He needs 185 yards for $2 million. I'm guessing he doesn't stop when he gets there. He just continues on. I think his line was set at 240 or 230 or something, so not too extensive. He also, for a win, needs $2 million, and then he also needs to complete 69.7% of his passes in this game for another $2 million. So he needs that passing yards and he needs percentage. Possibly look at same game parlay, see if you can get a win for the Seahawks, over yards on Geno Smith, and then over completions on the day. Might same game parlay. I just came up with that on my head. God, I'm smart. But yeah, that's probably actually what I'm going to roll in there. Maybe do a quarter of a unit or a tenth of a unit or something. Drop it down to 200 plus alternative yards, a win for the Seahawks, and maybe a completion of, I don't know what his completion line is, but maybe 20 or 18 or something like that. Next, Tampa Bay Bucks. This is the big one. All the money, Mike Evans over. 5 receptions, 85 yards to maintain his, well, he gets $3 million for that, but the 85 yards maintains his 1,000-yard streak, which is pretty insane. And on top of that, Baker Mayfield, he needs to remain top 5 in quarterback rating, completion percentage, passing yards per attempt, and passing touchdowns, which he currently is in the window for all of those. He's currently top 5 in all of those. So he just kind of needs to maintain what he's been doing, have a pretty decent game, and he'll go ahead and he'll bang another $5 million. So Bucks, definitely a pass-heavy game I'm expecting. Pretty accurate completions from to Baker Mayfield to Mike Evans, but Mayfield has said multiple times this week he's getting Evans that 1,000 yards. So we can expect that to be coming. Next, Titans, Tony Pollard, 83 rushing yards, taking his over. I think it was set at 74 or something like that. So 9 more yards to get his incentive. I bet he's going to try to push for that. Next, Kenneth Murray needs half a sack for $250,000, and Arden Key needs half a sack for $500,000. Again, 2 pass rushers who need a sack for an incentive that splits up the diversion. You really got to pay attention to multiple people now. I think they're probably going to be able to get through and go ahead and get those sacks. Then the Commanders. Dorrance Armstrong needs 1 sack for $250,000, and Dante Fowler needs half a sack for $375,000. I feel a little bit stronger on Dante Fowler here. He does have more sacks. He's a little bit more of an experienced player. He only needs half a sack for a higher incentive. I am going to take just his over half a sack. And then we got Zach Ertz. He needs to basically have a career game for $1 million, though, so you can bet he's probably going to try to push for it. He needs 9 receptions, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns for $1 million, which for a tight end at his position, I think that's a pretty good incentive for him to strive for. I'm probably just going to go over on receptions. It's set at 4.5 right now, so you can take his over on receptions. Whether he gets the yards, whether he gets a touchdown, you may want to throw him in for an anytime touchdown, but 2 might be a little difficult. The Cowboys are beat up. The Cowboys are not looking good as of late, but you never know. That's where I'm going to wrap it all off. Those are all the bets that I'm going to put together. I'm only putting like 1/10 of a unit on all of them just because there's a lot to keep track of. I just kind of want to see how the incentives work this year. I've never done like all incentives, see sacks, yards, receptions, that kind of stuff. See if that all works out. But I appreciate you guys watching if you stayed to the end. And let me know what you guys are tailing, which ones you found useful, which ones you're definitely back in putting a full unit on. And see you guys next time. Stay.